Hey, I'm Kasper, and I don't have a holiday, which is weird considering there's 365 of them. That's almost as many days that we have in a year. You might say it's because no one knows me and no one cares, but I beg to differ. I would say it's because I'm a man. That's what you call a smooth segue. I mean, let's check the stats. Women get a plethora of holidays. They get Mother's Day, Women's Day, some would argue Valentine's, and there's more, like Christmas. What, I'm not doing all that interior design. I'm not a lady or a bachelor or something to prove. Meanwhile, us guys, all we get is day. The father's absent. Wait, hold on, I'm getting a message. What the hell? Since when? Oh, right. In recent news, there is an International Men's Day. But since it's a new holiday that's only been around for 2.5 decades. Okay, anyways, it feels like the holiday area is a women dominated field. But why is that? Well, let's take it back to the 20th century, 1909 to be exact, when the uprising of 2000 happened, also known as the New York Shirtwaist Strike. Yeah, I don't know what a shirtwaist is either. Okay, I guess it's one of those wacky 20th century fashion trends where they all dress like pirates. Kickstarted by Clara Lemlich, she got fed up of asking, declared a general strike, and the next day, they marched. It started off with 15,000, and day by day it swelled up to around 30K. But what were they striking for exactly? I'll lay out the conditions for you. They worked a 65 to 75 hour work week at wages of $3 to $4 an hour, and they were expected to bring their own sewing machines and materials. And all the other terrible conditions that come with that kind of environment. You can fill in the blanks. Some factories went as far as locking steel doors to trap workers inside so they couldn't go on bathroom or smoke breaks. Kinda like a poor man's Amazon. But their conditions were, I would say, fair. They wanted a 20% raise, a 52-hour work week, better overtime pay, and, generally better conditions. So yeah, long story as short as possible, that's why we have Women's Day. It was celebrated to honor women's suffrage, and the tradition just kind of carried on to this day. Now, let's do a little compare and contrast. As I said earlier, Men's Day was started off in the 90s, first by a man named Thomas Oster in Malta. That's a southern European country near the Mediterranean Sea. Oh, and Malta went hard for Men's Day. They've been celebrating consistently since 1994. The Men's Day that you know was revived by Jerome Telexi, a guy from Trinidad and Tobago. That's in the Caribbean. He chose that day being November 19th, to honor both his father and his country's World Cup qualification. The idea is to remove the stigmas against men in society, I guess to more, balance out the gender relations. Now, only one of these are recognized by the UN. Take a guess. Time's up. Next question. Why do you think that is? There's something that ties together all of these demographic-based holidays. Women were second-class citizens. Black people were, The 13 colonies were squeezed half to death by the iron fist of British rule. You see, they're tributes to oppressed peoples who fought for their rights. And, darn, I hate to say it, but men aren't oppressed. Well, there are oppressed people who happen to be men, but men aren't being oppressed solely on the basis of being men. And no, that pretty girl on TikTok who says kill all men isn't oppressing you. Oppression is an extreme level of prejudice carried out by a governmental authority. For example, saying white people suck at seasoning food. It's definitely mean-spirited and I guess like a little bit racist, but it's nowhere near the level of oppression faced by the black community getting disproportionate persecutions and things like that. The reasoning behind this is that the governmental authority is composed entirely of men. Well, at least until 1916 when Jeannette Rankin was elected into Congress, which is honestly kind of funny because that was before women could vote. Anyways, back on topic. These civil structures were created by men, largely for men. And it's been that way for a long time. Let's roll it back to before calendars were even invented. In hunter-gatherer societies, gender roles were fairly equal, contrary to popular belief. Hunting or gathering, it was done by both genders, in the nomadic lifestyles. Child raising was done by the community. Everyone plays their part and gets to play a part. We even have a modern reference in the Kung people. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I know the exclamation mark stands for the clicking sound. but I could be wrong on that. I didn't research how to pronounce that. And the Kalahari Desert, that's somewhere between Nambia and Botswana. Yeah, I do geography too. This is an everything channel. That didn't change until 12,000 years ago. The agricultural revolution. When humans started to live more sedentary lifestyles, there was also a shift in gender roles. Labor became more divided. Men worked the farm, women were to stay at home, take care of babies, and the home, which we now have. The thing about an agricultural society is that you need to build a surplus. It's the main benefit. And crops are tricky. Almost as tricky as babies. You know, water, nutrients, sunlight, plant shit. And we can't pump that out of our tits. Well, we can do the first two, but only a few times a day, so it's not sustainable. Maybe that's why the earlier civilizations struggled a lot more than hunter-gatherers. Grok, we're plant food. Grok, out of seed. Once you get that surplus, you gotta protect it. Common sense has the physically stronger fill that role. And once you're in control of the stuff, you're in charge. You pass down the stuff to the guys that can do the same, repeat the cycle a few times, and suddenly women are second-class citizens. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe men's suffrage exists on a social level. While we do bring in the highest earnings and wealth and things like that, we also bring in the highest death rates, particularly suicide. The problem lies in expectations, and it's entirely our fault. Men did set the standard after all. I'll start with something simple like sensitivity. Let's look back on your interactions with other dudes. Now, let's imagine whenever you guys depart, log off, whatever. What if bro said, I love you, before he said bye? What the hell? Like, it brings it to a pause, right? And that's the problem. Think about how often guys are bragging about not knowing anything about their friends. You can shoot the shit with your guys and, fuck with them and all that, but you can also let them know when you're hurting. You see, the male loneliness epidemic comes from a core misunderstanding of what companionship is. You're not lonely because you can't find a girlfriend. You're lonely because you're not taking advantage of a support system. That's quite literally what friends are for. Women cry for, to, around each other all the time. We can do that too, trust me. It's not gay to be vulnerable or with your homies. It is gay, however, to fuck a dude, like super duper gay. But I get it, it's scary to do that kind of thing. Being vulnerable, not fucking a dude, I think. Once again, because of expectations, what if they see you as weak, or they lose respect for you, or they see you as less of a man? And that's true, because you're not. Before all that, you're a human, and at times, humans are weak and pathetic, and that's perfectly fine, because we have people around us that can lift us up when we're down. Just man up and take that leap. Okay, no, I'm joking. But you have to do it afraid. That's what bravery is. And who knows, it might deepen some of your bonds. Still, not gay. But there's that other outcome that we're all afraid of, being laughed at, not taken seriously. And that's where you have to start holding other men accountable. Like, hey, sure, that's John, and that's just how John is. He's that type of guy. But maybe you shouldn't be friends with people that make you feel shitty just because you've known them for a long time and they make you feel good every once in a while. Feel good as in, like, laughter and joy. Still not gay. Real quick, let's circle back to the whole not taking things serious. Did you know that 1 in 10 sexual assault victims are male? But estimates say that that number is closer to 1 in 6. Why do you think that is? No, I'd bet good money it's based on reports, because men can't get sexually assaulted, right? We've all seen the stories. A teacher has sexual interactions with one of her male students. The sexual interactions being statutory rape. The comments are flooded with things to the likes of, where was she when I was in school? Lucky kid, etc. Hell, when I was statutory at 17 by a 25-year-old, I didn't take it seriously at all. Fucking my friend had to basically force me to call the cops. And now, even the cop, when he was taking the report, asked me, like, it was fun though, right? And, nothing came of it. And I don't remember. I was entirely blacked out. But I do remember feeling a bit weird every time I tried to go to sleep in my own bed. God forbid the assaulter is a man. Like, with the whole Diddy case, that man was a serial rapist, like an Epstein-level monster. And all people could talk about was how the supposed victims were gay. Like, what? Hot take? I don't think it's gay to get assaulted by a man. And I know some people are gonna say, well, if a man gets sexually assaulted, that means he wanted it in some way. Even beyond the physical differences, there's things like blackmail, drugging, threats, and whatever the fuck else. It doesn't really matter how, because assault is assault at the end of the day. The fact that it's even a conversation is a problem. And it's a problem that men have to solve. The same way women fought for women's suffrage, LGBTQ people fought against homophobia, and black people fought against discrimination. The difference is that there's not some other group the blame can be placed on. It's not something that we can just march about. It's a problem we have to fix within our own circles. You know, a small droplet can create ripples in the whole pond kind of thing. You want people to care, you have to show that you care at the very least. And get off rage bait Twitter, it's bad for your health. And you know, if you put the work in, maybe one day I'll get a day that people care about. But yeah, that's all for me. If you like the video, like it. If you want to see more like it, subscribe. And if you have comments, criticisms, or complaints, there's a whole section meant for that down there. Adios.